What's up, everybody? Welcome here to Pop Culture Philosophers. Welcome, in fact, to PCP Movie Night. Welcome more, in fact, to Horrorfest 2025. We are kicking off week 4 of Horrorfest 2025 here tonight with a PCP presentation that is brought to you by Two Gun Pedro because he sent me the VHS copy of the Blair Witch Project. This is the correct way to watch this movie, is on VHS along with The Curse of the Blair Witch. Was the sci-fi special that they did. I also picked it up on Blu-ray, and it actually looks pretty good on Blu-ray as well. So it also has The Curse of the Blair Witch on there. So anyway, we're talking about tonight one of the most influential horror films of the 90s. Seriously, when you talk about the two most influential horror films of the 90s, there's Scream and there's the Blair Witch Project. And that's what we're talking about tonight. The Blair Witch Project. We were there. I hope you were too. If not, it may have been a rough watch for you if you weren't there and you just watched it on its own. However, we got a great panel joining us tonight, including Jelani. What's up, homie?
Robbie, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that I got you lost in the woods. I'm so sorry.
You're missing the tears and the snot, man. That's what you got. You got to go full on scary movie with it.
I was snorting. I was going to have my lights off and shit, but that'd been too much work. Station. Glad to be here. Yes. Blair Witch was a phenomenon. And like it consumed me there for a few weeks because I worked at the theater when this happened, and I'm still like, I was bothered by this movie. It's Paranormal Activity, the first one, kind of thing, because it's found footage. Of course, this is the one that started it all. So I'm so excited to talk about it. It's the one that like made people, oh, let's get a camera and do some shit. You know, so it's pretty cool. Including my happy fucking 18-year-old ass grabbing a fucking high-8 camcorder, running into the woods with my friends, thinking we're gonna make a movie. We didn't, but we thought we were gonna make one. Anyway, we also got Stu joining us from Dr. Doom's fan club.
What is up, fellas? What up? So happy to be here. Yes, a true classic, a special film at the culmination of like internet and you know, is it real? Is it really a true story in a way that, you know, can't be repeated since? You know, it's not the same world that we live in, but man, it's just such a great films with such a blast to revisit, always captivating. Just a scary fucking movie, man. One of the I think the last movies to really scare the shit out of me. So I love this one.
Hell yeah, I can't wait to get into this discussion. I love what you're saying because this is a movie that could only happen either in 1998 or 1999, right? Like anything after or a little bit before, and it's just not going to work, right? But Stu, first time on PCP Movie Night for Horrorfest 2025. So welcome in. I know you've been slaying it over at Blood Splatter Chatter, but man, you're really killing it here too.
Oh, yeah,
we also got Link, the missing Link, my buddy Steph. What's up, homie? You ready to talk about some Blair Witch Project?
As soon as I take myself off mute, yes, I'm super geeked. Talk about this this classic. You just had to be there. I'm ready to get into it.
Hell yeah. And to round out the panel tonight, we got our man Brooks. What's up, Brooks? You excited to talk about this movie?
Yeah, sure.
Were you there when this movie released, Brooks, or is this your first time watching?
I remember when it came out, but I'd never seen it.
This is your first time watching?
Wow.
Can't wait to get to that, man. Okay. All right. Well, let's unpack this movie, Blair Witch Project. This movie review brought to you by Two Gun Pedro because he sent me this awesome VHS. And if you think that I'm kayfabing, there you go. Blair Witch Project, and there's Curse of the Blair Witch right there.
So Curse of the Blair Witch, is that because I know they shot didn't they shoot documentary, or they wanted this to be more of a documentary in the first?
They wanted this movie to be a documentary, so it was going to be their found footage interspliced with documentary, like a mockumentary type thing. But then they decided, you know what? We really just want to keep the interviews to the first part of the film for Act 1, and we really want to just spend time with these dudes, right? Going through the motions, doing their thing. And but Curse of the Blair Witch, which is not the only mockumentary that was created around this film. They also did Stick and Bones, Sticks and Bones and something else, I believe. But Curse of the Blair Witch, that thing released on Sci-Fi Channel like a week or two before the movie did, and it was just scary. It was just like freaking awesome. It really was. So let's talk about this, right? This movie obviously released in 1999 in July after a big push at Sundance and other film festivals and even colleges. It was directed and written by Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez. They were film students back in 1993, and they were like, man, they don't make good horror films anymore. And you know what? 1993, I would probably agree with them. Like 100%. Like the 80s, the 70s, it's gone, right? Like in the 90s, we're not getting a lot of great horror films. Now, I know we get Scream and we get Halloween H2O and we get things like that, but the 90s were not the best decade for horror films, even with things like Scream and Candyman, right? It wasn't the same. And they had a discussion one night where they were like, you know what scares us more than any of these horror movies they're trying to give us? And we're talking about the age of Uncle Sam Wants You Dead and Leprechaun and shit like that, right? Like what's scarier than all these movies are documentaries about mysteries, right? Like In Search Of. And I agree, man, because I remember watching Discovery Channel, A&E, shit like that when I was younger, Sci-Fi Channel, Ripley's Believe It or Not, In Search Of.
Unsolved Mysteries scared the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Those things scared me more than actual movies did, man. And so they wanted to kind of take that idea and go with it. So they're film students. They come up with this idea, and they make this movie for $60,000, and it makes about $250 million. Becomes one of the most successful movies of all time. Becomes a phenomenon. A big key to this movie and its success was its viral marketing, which may be some of the first viral marketing we ever got, right? Along with this and The Matrix, they redefined how the internet would play up your movie for you. This movie is incredibly important. It's very influential. We don't have Paranormal Activity without this movie. It's not the first found footage movie, right? A lot of people would credit that to The Legend of Boggy Creek or Cannibal Holocaust. I would disagree. Those are mockumentaries. Those are not found footage movies. Found footage movie to me means this. Something happens to some people, somebody finds their footage, and it's played through with no commentary, no extra anything added to it. So a lot of people consider Blair Witch Project the first true found footage movie. Now, there was a movie that came out the year before, The Last Something, but I can't remember what it's called. But it was also more of a mockumentary. But the first found footage movie that I am aware of is the McPherson tape from the 80s, right? It's like an hour-long movie. It's filmed on home video. It's about an alien spacecraft landing in a family's backyard. And for years, decades even, it was out there on the UFO, alien, UFO not circuit at cons as if it was real. People believed that was real for a very, very long time, right?
That's awesome.
And Blair Witch does the kind of same thing. And when you talk about Blair Witch, the filmmakers, they mentioned Cannibal Holocaust. They mentioned the Legend of Boggy Creek. They were familiar with these films. The Last Broadcast, that's the movie that came out the year before, right? In fact, the filmmaker of The Last Broadcast tried to sue the filmmakers of the Blair Witch Project, but it obviously didn't happen because this movie is its own thing, doing its own thing, and I think this movie is still rather genius. Now, let me talk about my history with this film. So, in my senior year of high school, which started in September of 1998, right? I have already decided at this point that what I wanted to do with my life was be a filmmaker. I wanted to be a writer and a director of film, right? My biggest influences at that time were Kevin Smith, Richard Linklater. So I wrote a movie called Skip Day. That was a day in the life kind of story about a dude and his friends on their senior skip day, right? So I was mimicking that. And then right after I graduated high school, so this movie came out in July of 1999. I'm out of high school for 2 months at this point. And me and my buddy Josh watched this movie, or actually we hear about this movie and the lead up into it. And then we go watch the movie. I wasn't working at Hollywood Video or Hollywood 18 yet, Jelani, right?
Right.
But I remember vividly watching this movie late at night on I believe it was a Friday night. It was like release night, right? Fucking tons of teenagers in there. We're throwing shit. We're acting up. Chris Pomminger had to come in there and tell everybody to shut up or they're going to get kicked out of the theater, right? I've never before or since been in a movie theater with this kind of ambiance, right? Where like so many people are there. They're throwing like, I'm not watching Rocky Horror Picture Show in Manhattan in 1980. You know, maybe that's going on there, but in Huntsville, Alabama, this was the craziest, the most ruckus I have ever seen a movie going crowd, right? It was such a monumental movie. I also remember this being the first movie that ended and everybody walked out in silence. For such a rambunctious crowd, nobody said shit on their way out. Now, we've already, at this time, been talking about how much we love The Spy Who Shagged Me. We're already talking about Phantom Menace and Jar Jar Binks blowing the whole fucking thing. But Blair Witch was something like we had never seen before. I started watching or started working at the movie theater like a month later, and Blair Witch was still there. But when me and my homie Josh saw this movie, I was like, holy shit, this is so good. I love how they made this movie with a camera that I can afford, right? Which was crazy to me. And I buy a camcorder. We're going out there. We're trying to film in the woods, all kinds of shit. I write my second movie script I've ever written, which is a horror movie called Undesired Echoes, which is about a group of kids who go into the woods that are attached to a ghost story. So I basically did what they did. I mixed it with Sixth Sense because Sixth Sense came out that same year, right? It was 1999 was crazy, y'all. It had so much of an influence for me. Blair Witch Project, Sixth Sense, Fight Club, American Beauty. These were like definitive movies for me and my life. So I knew when this movie came out, because I was on board, I knew that this movie was not real. We're not seeing a witch snuff film, right? And I knew how they had made it because I was diving in. The website was very important to the success of this movie. BlairWitch.com. I remember being on there, learning the lore, learning the myth. That's the part I thought was real. I knew that no Hollywood studio was going to release a movie of three people's actual last days and we don't know what happened to them, right? But a lot of people fell for it, right? And this was the perfect era for this movie to happen. 1999, where the internet's still kind of new, just now becoming widespread. There's not a lot of stuff out there, not a lot of information. And we are truly in the era where we're like, fuck, I read it in the newspaper. I saw it on the internet. It's got to be real, right? But I loved the idea of this film. We're going to get three young film students, throw them into the woods, give them a little bit of direction. Because if you're not familiar, what happened was the filmmakers would give them like new film and new batteries and some food and direction. And they all had an envelope, and nobody on the cast knew what the other members of the cast were going to do. And it was kind of sporadically done. It was done over like 6 or 7 to 8 days in Maryland. I loved this movie back then. I was obsessed with this movie back then, y'all. Like 100%. Over the years, I have realized that this movie is not the perfect found footage movie, right? It's not, it's inspired a lot, right? But there was a time where I thought this movie, its importance outweighed the actual craft of making the movie. But over the last several years, and I don't watch this movie very often. I don't think this is a movie I could watch very often. I can't watch this movie every year, for instance, right? But the last few times I've watched this movie, including this time, I'm really impressed at how non-boring this movie is, right? Like, it's an hour and 18 minutes or some shit like that. it gets in and it gets out, and there's a lot of repetition in the movie, right? But it never bores me when I rewatch this movie. It doesn't have any music, so y'all, if you got notes about the music, scratch them because there's nothing there. Like there is a composer that's credited for this film, but I think it's just because of the music bit during the credits, right?
Yeah, and the sound design is crazy too. All the children screams and like all the different things they do.
Yeah, that's just the filmmakers out there with a boombox in the woods, man, which is hilarious to me. Like, I love the way that this movie was created. I love the way it was crafted. I love its importance. I think it's an incredibly important movie. But honestly, I think it's a good movie. I think it is for what it is. But here's the thing. It's a good movie for 1999. It's not a good movie in 2010. It's not a good movie in 1980. It's the perfect movie. It's like a perfect storm. And not like that shitty movie with George Clooney, The Perfect Storm, that came out around the same time. But this is the perfect storm for this movie to really, really work. I like this movie. I think it's incredibly important. I think it pushed boundaries. I think it opened the door for a lot of independent filmmakers, a lot of film students, a lot of young people who wanted to make a movie, right? And we don't get Paranormal Activity without this, which, by the way, we covered the entire franchise last year. As much as we may say that's not a great franchise, that first Paranormal Activity movie, we all said that's a really good movie.
Absolutely.
And Jason Blum says his biggest regret in his career is passing up funding the Blair Witch Project. And he spent almost 10 years looking for the next Blair Witch Project. And that's why we got Paranormal Activity. That's why we get movies like the Poughkeepsie tapes, and why we got the success of movies like Wreck and stuff like this. Blair Witch was unlike anything we had seen at the time. And honestly, some of these found footage masterpieces of the recent 25 years don't add up to the authenticity that is felt in this movie. It does not feel like these are actors. And I think that's why a lot of people got fooled, thought these motherfuckers were dead. Yeah. Heather Donahue's mother was getting condolence cards in the mail, y'all. People were volunteering to go hunt these motherfuckers down in the Maryland woods, dude. It's nuts. If you weren't there, it is, I'm not trying to be that old hat, but it is very difficult to understand the hype and the hysteria surrounding this film when it first came out. It spawned 2 sequels. One of them sucks. The other one I haven't seen. I've heard it's just kind of okay. I don't know. Jelani, I know you were there because you worked at the movie theater. What do you think? What was your history then? What do you think now?
Man, then it started my love for things. It really did. Like, you know, I worked in a movie theater because I was in awe of The Lion King. I saw The Lion King in a theater, and I was like, I want to do movies. How can I do movies? And ever since then, I've always chased it. I've always loved it. I met good friends in it. Robbie's one of them. Brooks is one of them.
Hell, dude, I just remembered one of my characters in Undesired Echoes was written for you, Raymond. Yeah, right. He's not you because he was a very popular guy in high school. He was a football player. That's not you, right? But
thanks.
Why are you taking shots, bro? Why are you taking shots? Like, yeah, like
Yacht.
Delaney was popular.
That's a proper insult. Anyway, so I loved this film because of what the hype was. The hype was real, as Robbie states. It's one of those things where it caught the zeitgeist of like the nation. This was some shit. And the viral marketing campaign did sell it. It was just one of those things that happened that everyone talked about. They talked about this at my church. And I was like, my church doesn't talk about anything religious.
Your church is like, let's pray for the lost victims of the Blair Witch.
I was like, wow. It was a deep thing. And it was kind of cultural because, I mean, it was everywhere. It was absolutely everywhere. You had to be there to see what it was. And it scared the shit out of me the first time I saw it. I was like, ain't no way in the world. A, I ain't going no woods. B, don't fuck with me while I'm asleep. Look, if I don't know where I park my car, I'm gonna have to figure out some other shit. I gotta tie a string. The first day I'm lost in the woods, I'm tying a string so I don't walk in a circle. Now, in the movie itself, I'm pretty sure the Blair Witch was screwed with their heads. Like, that's why they kept walking in circles and not getting anywhere. I just think it was the delirium of whatever spell she's put on them.
Those crazy ass rocks.
It was the rocks. It was the slime.
What's crazy is when you watch it now, you're like, literally, what? She's just building rock piles around them, and that's supposed to be
just waiting, going to bed. Yeah. But she's probably praying on them and putting hexes on them. So they
how is bro going to kick one over though? Like, or knock it over? I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, well, that's why he got first.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so much work involved in this movie. It's a slow burn, and it's fast paced for what it is because it builds tension, and that's the best part about this film. The fear of the unknown is what's so powerful about this movie. You never see a Blair Witch. You don't see anything, but the stories and the interviews that were told at the beginning of the movie kind of sort of tell the story at the end. Like, they're walking into it, and they should have told people where they were. They should have had like some kind of connection. 99, we had cell phones, or we had things that we could do.
I didn't have a cell phone in 99, Julene.
Yeah, I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have a cell phone either. It was a Nokia.
The filmmakers and the actors were actually using GPS,
but they were using
things where they're supposed to go. Yeah,
they were using things. The compass wasn't telling them where to go, and as far as the production goes, that's astounding. I'm talking about this movie. This movie, like, to this day, kind of still creeps me out. The reasons why I don't do things like I used to, and I'm not afraid of the woods. I'm not sleeping in them.
Dude, me and Brooks have been camping with this motherfucker a few times. He's never stayed the night.
I'll never stay the night. Screw that shit. I will not.
Like a campsite.
He's like, I'll go camping, but I'm leaving at 12:30. I'm going back home.
I'm going home. We ain't standing out here and waiting for what's gonna kill me at 3 a.m. Screw that noise. I ain't that dude. So it's one of those films that still bothered me after I watched it. It bothered me for years. Like, it's in the back of my head. I'm like, damn, he's standing up against that wall. Oh shit, they talked about that, and then the hit, and it's over, and you never see what happens. You never know. And it's just the best shit ever, man. That's why Paranormal Activity, I was so excited, because it was freaking people out. That hype train did the same kind of viral marketing thing. And
Jason Blum did exactly what they did with Blair Witch for that marketing campaign.
Even Cloverfield, you got to think about Cloverfield and what they did for their marketing campaign. So it all stems from Blair Witch
Chronicle.
And, yeah,
it's
Chronicle.
The kids with super
found footage. Yep. It's all the entire craze started with this movie for everyone in that age group. It changed a generation of people. And that is amazing within itself. The movie is
well, and also for us that were teenagers in the late 90s, we didn't have a bona fide major game-changing horror movie in our teenage years except for Scream, right? Like that was it. And Scream was just kind of like playing on the other movies. Right? Yeah.
And it's different now that you get this movie. And I thought it was real for a long time. I was like, those damn people are lost in woods. We got to find them, or we got to find what the fuck happened to them.
Even when Jelani saw these motherfuckers on the cover of Time magazine, he was like, this is fake news.
This is fake news. This ain't real. No, but it's definitely a thing that I'm glad I watched when I watched it. On the rewatch of it, it's okay. It's all right. I get it. The last 15 minutes for me still get me. But the build-up leading to it, now that I know it, it kind of weighs thin on me. So, I mean, if you're fresh watching it, then you watch it and you're like, oh, I'm freaked out because you don't know. And we didn't have the information we have now. We didn't Google as much as we Google now. So it's a different.
I don't think Google existed back then. Right?
No, I don't think it did either.
We used Ask Jeeves back then.
Yeah, it was Ask
Ask Jeeves.
Is Blair Witch real? Yes.
Yes. You're like, what? So it is a thing that still bothers me, but at the same time, it doesn't have the same punch. Now that I know it, Paranormal Activity, the first one, still kind of bothers me. It's still like
it's got a punch because they're able to craft scares. They're not trying to craft scares in this movie. They're just allowing it to actually unfold, right?
Happens.
Yeah.
We freak out real people and put their real names on the movie, which is evil as fuck. You should never do that. You know, unless they become superstars afterwards, but none of them did not that I know of.
They all had to pretend to be dead for a few weeks, man, when this movie was released, right? Yeah, their IMDb page at the time said they were deceased, presumed deceased.
Wow,
because they were missing. Yeah,
that's wild. So they had that,
and then the cast has talked about how they couldn't get acting gigs because people didn't think they were acting. They're like, "Oh, these dudes took you out into the woods and actually scared you. You weren't acting." They're like, no, we were acting, you asshats. Like,
right, they're actors.
Yeah.
It was,
and none of them really had successful careers. Now, what's the one dude? Not Mike and not Heather, but what's the other guy's name? Josh. Josh actually has been in some stuff. He's been in like some Adam Green films. He's been in a something recently too. Like, was it a Mike Flanagan movie or an Ari Aster? He's been in some more things, but a lot of them didn't have a lot of luck getting roles after this movie.
Yeah, and Heather had to change her name. She had to change her name because of this. Like, she lives like in a different state, quit acting altogether. Like, she had gotten it real bad. Like,
she grows medical marijuana now, bro. She said, "Fuck off."
She does, dude. They all three were at Scarefest last year, and I ran out of funds before I got to meet them, but I saw them. But I really do regret kind of not meeting them and having a moment with them, because what a crazy thing to be a part of. Like, literally one of the biggest horror movies of all time, right? And sometimes we forget that. It may not hit the same way today as it did back then, Jelani, but like you said, there's still moments that work.
It works.
Right?
Like,
and for me, like, Jelani, at the time, did you watch the sci-fi special Curse of the Blair Witch? Did you watch it? Dude, that shit's scarier to me, man.
It was.
I thought all that shit was real when that dude's talking about killing them 7 kids. I'm like, God damn.
Yep. It puts a nice light, or it gives context to this film. Like, they could have put pieces of that in there and made it a documentary. It would have probably worked. I think that the more knowledge you get from it, your head begins to swim in it. And you just think about it constantly. And that's what we did for ages, dude. Yeah. It's too much to talk about. It's so phenomenal in what it did and how good it was. And like I said, watching it now is not the same feeling, same punch. But at the same time, it still kind of resonates. It's still there.
It's a weird movie because it's like when you think about if you were there, and you think about at the time, if you can put yourself in that context, it's a phenomenal movie. Outside of that, it's a little underwhelming. Mm-hmm. And so that's what's crazy to me about this movie. Stu, you were there. You were in high school when this movie came out. You were wrapped up in it, man. What'd you think then? What do you think now?
Man, I mean, then it was life-changing. Like you guys have both said, it was, I think life before and after. I think, like, as far as movie-going experiences go, you only get that one time first, man. And like Jelani said, like, the last 15, 20, 25 minutes of that movie is special, and getting to experience that in the theater with other people. Like, when I still remember, like, all the fucking just like terror in the room when you saw Homeboy just in the corner, you know what I mean? And just like the way the credits played out with those, it wasn't that music, but it was like these dark ethereal tones and shit like that. Like, it was so unsettling, man. And it just, like, we didn't know whether to like whisper to each other or just fucking like walk out silently. It was just it was a profound experience. And like you said, man, I think only when I think back on my films of my youth and like the ones that really had an impact on me. I think only Scream comes close. So it was just brilliant in every way, and I still revisiting it. I still love the pacing. I love how 31 minutes in or something like that, we're already falling apart in the woods, and that's pretty like admirable that they got to the chicken that quick and still were able to fit in the exposition in the beginning. And I think in little great ways, like what's her name? Heather wrote all that little bit in the cemetery herself, like that was improv. And
yeah, the movie within a movie is all written by
her. Oh man, that was beautiful. Like it was so well done, getting her little
on the rewatch where on the rewatch was anybody else like, there's not a lot of actual fucking 16 millimeter like documentary movie in this fucking movie. No. I guess once they started realizing they were lost, that's when they just lost it, right? So yeah.
But it's on revisit. It's I found it like compelling and still interesting, and like going back, to those scenes in the woods, like where the tent gets all fucked up and she's running out. What the fuck is that? Her shrieking, man, dude! It just took me right back to where I'm in that theater and to that, and it always does that. And Robbie, I agree with what you said. You can't watch this one every year and like still expect it to hit, but revisit it every now and then. In those special circumstances, I think it's always going to bring back those moments and that nostalgia. And it's always going to have that special place for me at the intersection of so many things. But I still think, like, the story's a little thin and the acting's kind of crazy, but I still love, like, one of the things I really appreciated on this rewatch, especially, is just how worn down these folks look. Like, you can tell the effect that this process had on them. And I thought a couple of my favorite movies are just like Mike, like on one of those last days where he's just shaking, right? And he's found some cigarettes and they're smoking the cigarettes, and she comes up and sits next to him and just hugs him and they're shaking together. Like, we're
still alive.
It's just like, yeah, dude, it's just, yeah, exactly. It's just like a little 5-second scene, but man, little moments like that just carry you through to the next in such great ways. And like after a certain point in this film, when we get to nightfall, fuck, like, like that last little shot of daylight, whatever it is, that little funny bit of conversation. What do you like to do on Sundays? Blah, blah, blah. And then we're going to wake up in fucking terror. And it's like, it just gets worse and worse. And it's just great. So unique. Such a brilliant movie. It sucks that we don't have a legacy to talk about, like Blair Witch 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, because I think it deserves that. I really do. I think it's got the legs for that, but here we are.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad to hear that, man. I loved this movie when it came. Well, see, here's one of the craziest things. Heather Donahue, I don't know if she won or was just nominated, but she was nominated, if not won, the Razzie that year for Worst Actress, because everybody made fun of that fucking close-up scene with her talking to the camera, which is honestly one of the best scenes in the movie.
That's ridiculous, dude.
She's really is. It's just a lot of people were so hyped about this movie and a lot of people got pissed. In fact, the actors say that back in 99, back in 2000, people used to meet them and say, I want my money back. I'm disappointed you're alive. Like, what the fuck, dude? That's crazy. What about you, Link? What'd you think then? I think you were younger than us then, but you were aware of it. And what do you think now, man? What do you think about this film?
Yeah, a little fun fact. This movie came out July 14th, 1999, an exact year before X-Men came out. Also, the day before my birthday. But yeah, I was 10 going on 11. I didn't see this until I was probably I didn't get to see this in theaters. I saw it when I was 12, like the summer of 2000 on like VHS. But I was scared as shit, because I had just been camping with my cousins and my aunt like a year or two previously, and I was like, bro, I dodged a fucking bullet. I'll never go camping again, and I haven't been. But I would love to go camping, and I got to fit that into my life at some time. But this it is of its era. But Robbie, you brought up a great point about it being its authenticity. This movie, even rewatching it, like to be honest, I found the first 30 minutes, I guess, before shit pops off, to be more appealing, more attractive this time around. because I'm sitting there watching them go through the interviews, and they seem like real people telling like real stories about legends they've heard and shit like that. And, you know, and not at one point do I you know, and nowadays watching like found footage films, like even Paranormal Activity, I'll, you know, I'm there, that suspension of disbelief is not there for me, where I'm like, that's a movie. It's a good movie, but it's there's something about Blair Witch that is more authentic than any found footage film I've seen. It's not a perfect film, you know, but it is iconic, and it gets it's very unsettling. You know, it doesn't have a lot of like jump scares and shit like that, but just like the aspect of, you know, it coming off so real, and especially like the campaign, like, you know, I was one of those people who thought this was like some real shit. I was like, oh my God, these people never came back, you know, like, I don't know. I just find that I think there's something very special about that. It's not for everybody. It probably, some may find it a little boring, but I think there is some magic still to be had with this film. You know, as we've all said, like there's little moments in this film, and it's iconic for a reason. But I was scared as hell back then. I am not scared now, but I still enjoyed this rewatch. I hadn't seen it in a minute, and this rewatch, I was like, man, you know what? I'm glad I watched this. I don't know if I watch it every year, but I have to fit it in every couple of years or something like that.
Yeah.
'Cause I was surprised by how easy of a watch this was. So I enjoyed it.
Hell yeah, man. You know, so I've talked about this before, but there's only been one time. Yeah, I'm so used to horror films at this time. Like I watch them like a kid watches Care Bears or some shit. I don't know if kids watch Care Bears anymore, but when I was a kid in the 80s, we watched Care Bears. But like the way that a kid would watch K-pop Demon Hunters, right, nowadays, like, and they just love it, right? Like that's what horror films are to me. They're comfort movies, right? Including even Blair Witch, right? But what was the point I was trying to make? Oh, so the only nightmare I've ever gotten during Horrorfest was when I watched Videodrome. For some reason, Videodrome had me have nightmares. I had nightmares last night. And I had just watched Blair Witch Project, but also earlier that afternoon, I watched The Wailing. So I think those two things together like really got me all fucking twisted up in my subconscious, and I had some fucking nightmares last night, man. I woke up like, oh, where's my cat? Come hold me, cat. Like I was like, where's my girl? She's not here. She's at home. I was like, I woke up. I felt like, fuck. I mean, this movie kind of gave me nightmares for the first time ever. Didn't give me nightmares back then. Didn't really scare me because I knew that it was craft, right? But there is something that's viscerally scary about this movie, and it's part of its authenticity. And I've been wanting to have this movie as a part of Horrorfest for several years now, and I'm very excited that we're doing it finally, especially to know that it's Brooks's first time watching the Blair Witch Project. Were you aware of the phenomenon? Because that's what it was, a phenomenon when it came out. And Brooks, what do you think about it, watching it for the first time in 2025 as a grown-ass man?
Yeah, I remember like the hype around this movie. Like I remember like the the scene where she's looking down the camera with the snotty nose was like, it was like a parodied a lot back in the day. Like it was a big deal. I remember it being a big deal, but I'd never seen it. Like, I wasn't as into, the horror movies back in the day. But yeah, like I watched it, like I don't like it. This movie's boring, dude. I was so bored watching this movie, man. And like it has a few good moments. Like, I kind of appreciate the atmosphere. I see what they're going for. It's kind of like building tension, but like it doesn't feel like it's really building that much. And like, I feel like they should have thrown like more freaky stuff in there. But it seems like instead he kind of went for like, them going a little stir crazy rather than, than like, the supernatural elements, which, I kind of respect it. But, this movie, like, I wasn't into it, man. Like I didn't find it scary really, which, I've been camping before, and like, the idea of getting lost in the woods is pretty scary. Like, especially if like, you're just like, stuck with this group of guys, like, and like, this group, it feels like, the girl in Josh and the girls seem kind of like friends, but like Mike is like he's like a kind of unknown quantity, I guess. Like they
So
don't know
yeah,
him as
Josh
much.
and Heather know each other for film school, and Mikey and Josh are friends, but Heather and Mike don't know each other. That's that's the idea.
So they kind of have like a little connection, but like, they're not like, tight. They're not like a tight knit group. So like, I kind of get what they're doing with it, but like, I just wasn't feeling it. It had some decent scenes in it. Like, I liked the scene where, it gets to where all the little effigies, I guess are hanging in the woods. I thought that was kind of cool. I wish they'd have done more of that, but, it wasn't the worst thing I'd ever seen. Like, I didn't hate it, but like at the same time, I was like, oh man, I wish I was playing Hollow Knight Silk Song instead of watching this fucking movie.
All right, fair enough. I was
just
very curious how it would play to somebody who's watching it for the first time in 2025, because Paranormal Activity is able to craft scares, because we know we know what found footage is at this time, right? Back then we really didn't, right? And and I get what you're saying, but Brooks, if me and you were out there camping, I know we've been camping and it's fine, but if we're lost in the woods for 2 days and we run out of cigarettes and power bars in 1999.
I was like, oh my God.
That's the scariest bit, is running out of cigarettes in 1999.
Back in the day, we ran out of cigarettes, we would be like, oh, fuck it, dude. We got to kill ourselves.
Nowadays, it'd be way different. It'd be like, fuck, my battery's dead. My battery's dead. Man, what am I supposed to do? Hell yeah, though. I appreciate that authentic response to this movie. Let's talk about the style and structure. The style of the movie, it's found footage. It's done on a high 8 camcorder. It's done on a Super 16 millimeter film camera. It is one of the things that makes it so real to me is the way that it was shot, right? And no other movie's ever really been shot like this, where the script for this movie, by the way, had no dialogue in it. It was basically a 30 to 45 page treatment. They knew the beats, and the filmmakers put these actors out there, and they put out an ad in some magazine or newspaper or something, and they said, you got to like camping. It's going to be rough. It's going to be hard. Everything these characters went through, these actors went through, right? So the filmmakers, they had these GPS things, right? Back in the early days of GPS, right? They would have GPS trackers to get them to a drop-off zone. They would get there, they would open up this box, and there would be food, and there would be like other things, and then there would be notes to each cast member about what to do that day, right? And the filmmakers were always within earshot of them at most times, right? Like, they didn't want to be seen, and so it gave them the sense that the actors were out there alone, but they knew that they were safe. The safety was a big thing, right? But like, an interesting tactic that first of all, that's an interesting strategy to make a movie, right? Nobody has made a movie like that before. Nobody has really made a movie like that since, right? Maybe some people have, but not to the level of success that Blair Witch did, right? That being said, as the days progressed, they start giving them less and less food because they're wanting them to like feel tired. They're out there in the woods. They're in Maryland in October and November, and it was raining throughout most of those days, right? They're in a state park, but they're out there camping. They got a little bit of food. They are running out of cigarettes. They ain't showered. That comes across. And that adds to the realness of these actors, right? What were you saying, Link?
No, I just, to your point, there was a shot I particularly noticed of, like, I forget whose fingers it was. I think it was Heather's. There's a close up of her fingers, but it's like, I was like, bruh, that's a really good like makeup job, or she's really just been playing in dirt, like, and it's just, and I obviously just been playing in dirt, and it like you said, it comes across like those little details, and makes it feel like they're actually out there living it, which they were. I didn't know that. I'm very shocked. The method they use kind of sounds like, what is it, like the Stan Lee method, where it's like he just kind of gives a treatment, and it's like the artist fills in the blank space. And,
yes.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it really works for that. So I love the style. I think it was very bold. I think it was very. I think that it's phenomenal the way that they made this film. Right? They could have crafted better scares. Like I've always said this. One thing that would make this movie really sore for me is at the end when Mike's in the corner and Heather shows up, she's screaming, the camera drops. What if you just saw some fucking 2 raggedy ass feet floating across the camera? But at the same time, that would have felt less real at the time, right? So there's something about the style of this movie I love, right? It's got shaky cam. I don't get bothered by shaky cam, right? But I went and saw Cloverfield with the motherfucker who had to go throw up because of you know what I'm saying? And if you're not into it, I get it. But at the time, we didn't really know shit about this, right? The only thing we really had before, because not a lot of people even today have seen the McPherson tape, right? Which is something worth watching, but it's not something we'll ever cover here because it's not really that much of a movie. This has a little bit more of a plot, mostly because of the lore that was created. All this lore was created. That was the bit that I thought was real. That's some really legitimate fucking lore that you could explore and mine for franchise upon franchise. Conjuring, get the fuck out of here. The Warrens, we all know they're bullshit and bogus now, but that movie's still making money, right? But there's so much mythology and lore within the Blair Witch mythos to still explore, and that was the scariest part to me, was this shit. Curse of the Blair Witch. Like, I fucking loved all the stories about the woman who was the witch and she got thrown out there and chained up and just left to die in the elements, or the dude who went crazy and the witch told him to kill these 7 kids and he has to have one sit in the corner while he kills the other one, and of course that comes up at the end. I love the lore and the method they did to make this movie, and I don't mind the cinematography because I feel like that's part of what makes this movie feel so viscerally real, even when you know it ain't, right? Structure-wise, I was very surprised watching it last night how quick this movie goes by. Like, honestly, I had just watched a 2-hour and 40-minute long fucking Korean film that had so many twists in it. I feel like it almost lost itself at certain times, right? And I cannot wait to talk about that on Thursday. That was your movie you picked, right, Stu? The Wailing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I love The Wailing. I'm very excited to talk about that movie. But this movie is an hour and like 20 minutes. It gets in, it gets out. What's crazy, even though I do believe it repeats itself too much, I feel like at the beginning of Act 2, we could have had a little bit more camaraderie amongst these people before they broke down. Because it felt like, and apparently they had to cut a lot out because, by the way, there was 20 hours of footage, right? So they did cut a lot out. But apparently Josh and Mike were like ganging up on Heather too quickly, too soon. I feel like that's in the structure of this film. Like, we could have had like maybe 5 to 10 more minutes of them like bonding before we get to that, right? Before like it's all about Heather, you suck. You know, like you're trying to make this documentary. We're out here lost in the fucking woods and all this shit. But all that felt very fucking real. So I actually love the style. And I think the structure, I was surprised at how tight this movie felt to me on this rewatch. And I think I'm honestly surprised by that every time I watch the movie. And I think it's like a once every 5 years type thing. Like, watch this movie once every 5 years. I think I may have only seen this movie like 4 or 5 times in my life, including this time. But style and structure, I think it works. What about you, Jelani?
Yeah, I agree with most of everything you said. I mean, shoot, it's a very realistic film. It's one of those movies where you're just like, yeah, I would buy this. You know, I get it. You know, and the fact that, you know, they could have done like the families stitched this footage together, or somebody put this film together for these people to experience. So it gives that feel as far as the stylishness of it, the town, and then you get to the woods, and it feels like it's going at a decent enough pace for me to enjoy the scenery enough to get what's happening You know, it's kind of the style and the structure kind of mixed together with me for this. It's a slow burn. At the same time, it's paced enough for you to get your beats. You go to sleep, you wake up, bullshit happens. Go to sleep, wake up, bullshit happens. You know, and it is repetitive. But when you get to the payoff of it and the ending is still, like I said, the last 15 minutes of this movie still kind of haunt me. Because I ain't gonna be running with no camera trying to find my friends and footage. I ain't doing none of this camera shit. If I'm lost in the woods, guess what? We gonna find our way out. I ain't worried about no battery power. So shaky cam be damn. You know, sometimes you putting that thing down for a second and having beats and moments, and they have them. Like you said before, Stu, the moments where they're like together. Mike and Heather are together. Those are great shot. That's a great composed shot. Heather and the snot nose. I know people joke on it, but it is kind of scary. It's kind of
it's so iconic. It was referenced in like everything. Scary Movie, Mad TV, SNL. Fuck, Scooby-Doo made fun of Blair Witch Project, right? Yes. Y'all remember the Scooby-Doo Project on Cartoon Network?
Actually, no.
Shaggy in the corner.
Oh, yeah. Those fucking ads are awesome, bro.
But yeah, it gets you there, and it turns so culturally. All those scenes make sense for this movie. It's put together well. They could have done a lot better. They're like Brooks, you said that it needs more supernatural. It needs more oomph for it to get its point across. Even though the last scene is enough for me, I agree. It needed a little bit more for it structurally to make more sense. But I love the exposition at the beginning. I love the fact they get lost in the woods. But it is, like you said, Robbie, the repetitiveness of everything after that. It gets kind of monotonous a little bit. But it's still paced well. It's still over and out.
Yeah.
You're done.
It's a masterful editing job.
Yeah.
To take 20 minutes or 20 hours of footage that is not scripted and structured really, and make something like this out of it that moves by very quickly, I think, honestly.
It's amazing. It's really a feat to do what they did. And like you said, in the method that they did it, that's impressive as hell. And, you know, you screw with people like that. I mean, there got to be laws against that. But it's still impressive that they were able to pull that off. So, yeah. I mean, it's a great film stylishly and structurally.
What about you, Stu? What do you think in style and structure-wise?
I mean, I think the genius of this film is like, you know, what they did in the editing room for those, like 8 or 9 months it was. I think it really like putting all the, like doing that guerrilla filmmaking, directing them via GPS, really letting them be the cast and the crew, putting it all in their hands and then putting it all together later in the editing room is a testament to both of those guys.
And I love that you mentioned that. They are the cast and the crew. Because, for instance, that bit in the movie where Josh has that one woman out of focus, that was legitimate. And that was a real conversation. He's like, what the fuck is a meter?
Yeah, because like, didn't apparently he lie about his familiarity?
He did. He was doing videography in Manhattan at the time, but he wasn't super familiar with the 16 millimeter at all. Yeah. And so like that whole conversation where he's like, I just got to relook at my fucking map, my code with meters and how far it should be. Like, because I was like, it is kind of fuzzy in that one little bit. Yeah, and that's legitimate. And that's hilarious to me.
Yeah, it's incredible. So yeah, I think it's like a true touchstone of the film. I think, story wise, I love the first part. What you guys were saying, what Link and you both were saying about the authenticity, I think cannot be overstated. Like all those townspeople, man, even that eerie little bit where the child's trying to close her mother's mouth works so well, especially in retrospect. No. Yes. And then, like I said earlier, we're in the woods falling apart at 30 minutes in. And I think from there on, it's really a delight. I think they did a really great job of like not leaving everything that's in the movie feels essential to the story. I do agree with like Brooks and Jelani in that the supernatural could have been ramped up a bit, but to me, I still have no complaints. I thought it's brilliant then, and I think it's brilliant now. So I think all the way around, and I love, dude, when we go into the 16mm shots, that black and white. Fuck.
Yeah.
And like that little sequence at Coffin Rock where she tells those stories. It's like, man, what the fuck has been going on out in these
and
woods,
that actually
dude?
breaks up the shaky cam a little bit.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It does. It breaks it up a little bit. Just a little bit, man.
Like
just
that,
enough for me.
When they find those like little straw wicker men in the trees, man, and she grabs that camera and goes in the 16mm and has that like slow walk in towards one, like it's so great.
And everybody else is like, "Stop fucking filming! What's wrong with you? This is crazy."
So over it.
Another thing that really strikes me about the just the writing of this film or the way it's put together is how funny it is. It's funny. It like keeps humor kind of going enough for the first hour to really keep us engaged. Like the Gilligan's Island conversation, which the biggest part of their budget apparently was paying for the rights to that fucking song because they're singing the song in the fucking movie. But even like, I think it's crazy how funny the the movie actually is at times, man. What about you, Link? What do you think about the style and structure?
I have no problems with it. It's hour and 20. I think it was what the zeitgeist or movies, horror genre in general needed at the time in the 90s.
Especially a movie like this.
Yeah. This I'm surprised, like rewatching this and knowing the beats, how engaging it still is. And shout out to to the guys ganging up on Heather. I'll give it the movie another point because that reminds me of like the gang and It's Always Sunny. Like Heather is essentially Sweet D, Get out of here, you bird. So
like
I love that. Yeah. But yeah, no, Brooks has made some great points. It's a little underwhelming in certain aspects. I almost feel like this because I don't know, maybe it's like seeing other found footage films over the years. It's like this one maybe won't have as much bang if you've seen it for the first time. But there's still something to it, man. That I'm just like awed by the beats. I will agree. I didn't realize that until you said it, Jelani. It's like go to sleep, wake up, get fucked with. Go to sleep, get fucked with, wake up. I would have, like you pointed out as well, Robbie, I would have stretched out them bonding the camaraderie a little bit, just them kind of fucking around, having fun, maybe even interviewing the townsfolk a little bit longer. But beyond that, I have no problems with it. I think it did what it needed to do.
Hell yeah. And of course, originally they wanted it to be more of a mockumentary. And so they actually filmed interviews with people to splice in. It was supposed to be a documentary speaking on this found footage. Right. And then they decided, let's just go raw with it. And most of that other stuff that they filmed for the mockumentary became Curse of the Blair Witch, which is absolutely fantastic. So I think it really adds to this is truly a multimedia, one of the first multimedia. This and Matrix came out the same year, and both of them utilized the internet better than anybody had. But of course, the internet was still very new. I know a lot of kids today, like somebody told me not too long ago that the internet existed in like 1991, Robbie, so there's no excuse. And I'm like, it existed, but we didn't have access to it, brother.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Zach Morris had a cell phone. We didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a whole different game back in those days. What about you, Brooks? Style and structure?
Well, I appreciate the style of this movie. I like when filmmakers, try to do something a little different. And I think it works, to set the tone pretty well. It does feel very much like, just, three people just, trying to just fucking around with a camera, trying to film a little documentary. But I think the problem with the structure of it is it doesn't feel like it ramps up. Once the weirdness kind of starts with, when they walk out and there's there's three little stone piles and, but it doesn't feel like it ramps up too much. And I think it also feels like, they start too early with them kind of cracking. Like, when Mike, talks about throwing away the map and they start like, so like it feels like they ramp it
Bro,
up
he's
too
got to get
soon.
that dat back, bro. He's going to get a fine if he doesn't get that back that day,
No,
man.
he's stressed about that shit.
It feels like it ramps up too quickly and then it evens out. And that's why it doesn't feel like, it's building up as much until like the very end, until they find the house. And by then, like the movie's almost over. So like, I appreciate I appreciate like, the settings and what they're trying to do with it. But like, I think it could have used a little more work myself. But then again, like that probably would have like taken away from the authenticity as well. So it's kind of like, you kind of got to balance it. So I think like, for what it is, like, they did a pretty good job of it. Like, I can see why people like this movie. I just personally found it like pretty underwhelming.
No, that makes sense, man. If you're watching it for the first time in 2025, I probably would find it underwhelming too, right? Especially after, like, if I remember correctly, you thought the first Paranormal Activity was pretty good last year, right?
Yeah.
We only really lost faith when they started opening up fucking holes to hell and shit and CGs in the midst of this found footage movie.
Yeah, well, the first Paranormal Activity had a better ramp up too. Like, the demon got a little crazier as a movie.
Yeah, but one thing about Paranormal Activity compared to this one is Paranormal Activity, we knew 100% was like a scripted movie, right? Yeah. And they actually took the time. Like, they had the demon like shut the door. They had the claw marks and the fucking baby powder or whatever the fuck it was. Like, it did ramp up, but this one, because it doesn't ramp up, I think it feels more authentic because of that. Right? It does just kind of feel like this really feels like found footage. Like the only other found footage film I've ever seen that feels the same way is the McPherson tape. Because not even Cannibal Holocaust, because Cannibal Holocaust is supposed to be found footage, but then they're doing shots that you're like, wait, who's holding the fucking camera?
Right.
You're like, what? You're on a crane? What the fuck is going on? Like, like shit like that. So, and I know that Verno is going to be covering Cannibal Holocaust, and very jealous I can't make it there.
Damn turtle. Yeah. I'm still mad them motherfuckers killing that turtle.
Well, there's the cruelty-free version. All right, so this movie has some performances in it. A lot of people would say there's 3 characters, but there are more. So I think we got plenty to go around. Jelani, why don't you kick us off? What's a performance you want to highlight?
Oh, I'm going to take the witch lady, the Christian lady at the very beginning when they're doing the documentary interviews.
The chick at the trailer park?
The lady at the trailer park.
That's her actual trailer, by the way.
That's
just so
nice.
You know.
I love it.
That's how authentic this movie is. That's the word, authentic. Yeah. It's just the word.
How did they get these people to tell these stories in such a way where you're like, oh my God, did they pay them? Like, are they paid actors to do this? I was so impressed by her story.
Every single one of them was so authentic.
Authentic. Like it didn't feel like they're reading from a script. It didn't feel, and it was the old guy, the first part, he tells
old guy was like, oh my God, that's completely sold me.
You talking about the guy who's like, Blair Witch? Haha. Yeah, we remember the Blair Witch.
Yeah, no, and it's like when he's telling that story and the guy's like, he's talking about the guy comes back into town and he's like, well, I think I'm done now. Like, it just has such a resonance. Like, it doesn't, like a lot of the times with these found footage movies, you can, like you guys have said it earlier, you can see that tell where you're like, fuck. Like, I did not feel that one smite, like with these random people they got in the early part.
The fishing scene, bro, like that seems like they're legit fucking just interviewing 2 dudes fucking they caught going fishing. Like nothing about that seems
goddamn Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau is what it feels like to me, man.
It's just all these
goddamn kids will never learn. Like it's so real.
Yeah, I love how they talk about this lady at the end. She's like, she was telling other stories, like they didn't believe her. And it felt, that's the most earthing part to me. She was just one of those cool, crazy, kooky people that you meet. I see people like that all the time, and they're just, they're there and they're just crazy as all crap. Like, but I'm pretty sure she was telling the truth. That's the funniest part about the whole thing. As crazy as she sounded, she basically was telling them what was happening out there. And it's wild that they got these regular people to do this, and she was just my favorite of that group.
Oh, she's great, clutching her fucking Bible outside of her trailer and shit. I fucking loved it. Like, out of focus and shit.
Focus.
It adds so much reality.
It's realism.
Yeah, it adds so much. What about you, Stu? What's a performance you want to highlight?
Man, I mean, everybody's great. I'll go with Mike. Mike is the guy who.
Yes, this time watching Stu, I was so impressed with Mike. So impressed, man.
It's incredible right from the get-go, right? They pick him up. He's at this nice house, right? Do you want to tell mommy goodbye? Like he's got a good, and he does tell mommy goodbye, but he's got a good life, and he's helping out his buddy. He's the outsider in this situation. And he's like the first to come undone, right? And like the whole thing when he kicks the map into the stream and he admits it and she freaks the fuck out on him is like one of those moments where the spiral like really, really starts. But like I just loved how he played like that guy who came unglued first, and like he ended up being the guy last with her. But like I said earlier, like those scenes I thought like in the end when it's just her and him left are incredible. And also the way he holds that weight, the way he interacts with her, the way he interacts with Josh, like it's just brilliant, man. And I thought go ahead, bro.
Oh, to your point, to Mike's credit, even though he was the first to pop off, he was the first to also try to be the mediator. Like when Heather and Mike are going at each other, he's like, "Yo, guys, let's chill out. We're all humans here. Like we're all like losing our shit a little bit. Like let's." Understandably. So, Mike was a great.
And he attacks her one time, with the cane. He's like, she tries to bite him and he apologizes immediately after. So it's like cool seeing those little bits of his character. But yeah, man, I thought he was great.
I was so impressed with Mike on this rewatch, man. I really, really was, man. Like his character really, really works. What about you, Link? What's a performance you want to highlight?
Lainey was kind of onto it. I'm gonna go with the townsfolk in general. As I said earlier, I was very appealed to like them interviewing the townsfolk, and you guys all make Stu. You brought up the I believe it was you. You brought up the kid with the mouth and bit, and that just I don't know that first 30 minutes is very enticing because it's like. Even rewatching it, you kind of forget that this is a movie, there's or at least for me, there's a part of me that was like into it. Like, man, these are real people getting in. I don't know. There's a weird thing with this movie. Maybe it's just me. Where when I rewatch this, I kind of lose that. I'm into the magic of what's going on. Like these,
that scene in the hotel room like when they're like, "Great, that was a great day one." Like you feel that, like because it was a great day one. Like,
dude, it's great. And the commentary on the Blu-ray, the filmmakers are like, "Oh yeah, they spent most of their budget buying alcohol that night. They got shit faced."
It felt so real. It was great. It was a great end cap to that like whole sequence.
This townsfolk in general.
Hell yeah, that's a good pick too. What about you, Brooks? Is there a performance you want to highlight?
Yeah, like it was like a brief appearance, but the girl in the beginning who's like, my sister went to Blair High School, like because it feels like she's like kind of representative of like the youth who's kind of like forgotten a lot of these old myths and stuff. Like she's just like this girl who's like, oh. Like the whole Blair Witch thing like goes completely over her head. Like she has no idea what they're talking about. So yeah, like I was kind of like thinking like, man, it'd be cool if like she ended up being the witch in the end. But of course, I was just being a little silly with that.
I'm glad you mentioned that because Burkittsville, Maryland is a real place, but it was never called Blair. And the reason why they went with Blair in this movie is because one of the filmmakers, I can't remember which one it was, but their sister went to Blair High School. So that's why they came up with the idea of this town being called Blair back in the day. Because originally it was called the Black Hills Project, right? Mm-hmm. But the Blair Witch Project sounds so much better. So much better.
Yeah.
So I was prepared for y'all to take all of the main cast. And I was going to talk about my favorite performance being that kid who's like putting her fucking hand in her mom's mouth. Like, no, that's... Obviously, this kid is not reading a script. You know what I'm saying? But it so works. And what's crazy is that Heather and Josh and Mike filmed that And the filmmakers were like, oh, fuck, who is she? We got to figure out who this person is so she can sign a release. So they had to hunt her down, man, to like reconnect with her and get her to sign a release, because that whole performance is great. I also love the old dude who's telling the story. I love the grumpy old men, right? And they created in the commentary, the filmmakers mentioned that those two actors created their own backstory. That one was this dude and this was his son-in-law, and they didn't like each other, and the son-in-law thinks he drinks too much. They created this whole backstory that comes across in that scene. It really does. Yep. But since nobody picked her, Heather Donahue.
Yes.
She's an amazing performer in this movie. It sucks so bad that she won a Razzie for this, only because of post-hype, post-phenomenon retrospection on her performance in the movie, right? Oh, it's too much. She's screaming too much. She's annoying, blah, blah, blah. She's the character that has the arc in the film for me, right? She's the control freak, right? She's got to keep the camera rolling and it's always moving and everybody's bitching at her about it. And like, I think her performance is the strongest. I was really impressed with Mike. And I think Josh does a good job too. But Heather really carries this movie for me. And that scene that everybody always likes to parody and reference, it still very works. It still very much works for me. And I think Heather Donahue was amazing in this movie. No real music to speak of in the film. Like I said, there is a composer that's credited, but Tony Cora basically just did that music you hear at the very, very end, which is very atmospheric. Sound design's good. It's literally just what the camera could pick up, in the fucking woods and shit like that. There is one song that's used, and it's when they pick up Mike. And what's crazy is that's one of the few bits they had to refilm. And it's because whatever song was playing before, they didn't have the rights to, so they had to refilm it with the correct song there. So let's go ahead and skip into the theme. What's this movie speaking to you, Jelani? What do you think?
Don't go out in the damn woods and try to film a documentary about witches. You'll end up dead. And they're going to find your footage and laugh at you. They're all going to laugh at you. It's ridiculous what people do.
They're all going to laugh at you.
Yes. They are all.
Adam Sandler over here.
Yeah, nice Adam Sandler reference, man.
You're welcome. It's one of these films that kind of freaks me out to an extent, but like this could have all been avoided. Like just a little bit more research, just a little bit more prevention could have saved their lives in some form or fashion. Plus, if you're heading south for 2 days and you still haven't gotten anything and you try to head west and all these other things, you need to take stock of where you are. I don't know, just figure out.
Or like you said, maybe the witch is fucking with them.
Or maybe his witch is fucking with them. Yeah. True.
Them rocks. Don't fucking. If you wake up and there's a pile of rocks near you, get the fuck out of there right now. Don't kick them over. Just get the fuck out of there.
Here's another thing. What if Josh was the witch?
There is an interpretation of this film that he's a serial killer.
He's a serial killer motherfucker. He's gone. He's the first one to leave. He feels like he knows these woods pretty decent. I mean, enough to get around in them. I think that it could have been him. It could have been him this entire time. Yeah. And it feels like, the madness either got to him. Yeah, maybe he was a serial killer. Maybe he did want to just do this. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you.
He snapped, bro.
But it makes total sense. You just don't go out in the fucking woods. Don't go out in the woods. Why are you going in the woods? Ain't shit out in the woods. Brooks, I don't know why you go camping. I'm glad you're still here.
But when we go camping, we go to like the state park on a campsite. I had some people recently be like, no, we want to go to this like crazy ass fucking forest in Alabama and like hike in. I'm like, I ain't doing that.
Nope.
Yeah,
I ain't doing that.
Camping ain't real camping.
And it ain't because I'm scared of witches or big feet. It's because I'm scared of fucking bears and mountain lions.
Humans, fucking snakes, bats, crazy rabid dogs. You know,
y'all were
wolves,
there. We were on an
cougars.
official campsite at Monte Sano State Park, and a fox came up to our campsite, and I jumped up on the fucking picnic table, and I was like, I ain't coming down to that motherfucker's house. What's a fox gonna do to me?
You got to go. I can't play with it, and it's one of these things where you just. I have natural fears, man, and my natural fears keep me alive. You know, you just can't play with shit. You don't tempt fate. You know, I'm gonna go skydiving. No, dumbass. Yeah, don't go skydiving.
We were meant to fly.
There's just things that you just don't do because sure they're gonna be like, oh, sure, it's safe. Sure, camping, you can just go outside and live and rough it. Yeah, but then there's also this crazy motherfucker out in the woods that may want to kill you. Or the Blair Witch. So it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work in my head. I couldn't do it if I wanted to. I'm a city boy. City boy. That's it.
Hell yeah. Stu, what about you? What's this movie speaking to you?
Man, I'm going to go a little bit more on the outside looking in and just talk about it like the work of art that it is and how revolutionary it was for this time and how I think those specific like works of art always come at us from like such unexpected angles. I think the way it uses the internet and like truly is a sign of the times in so many different ways is one of those things that you got to be there for. So I think it's like one of those brilliant examples of like right place, the right time. But I don't want to say that in the sense that it like hamstrings the movie or takes away from its aesthetic impact or its like impressions upon me all these years later, because I still think it's rewarding as I watch even now in 2025, even going into it cold. I still think there's great things to pick up from this film, and I just think the natural element to it, the way they really like made it feel like these people were just worn down to nothing. Is a beautiful thing, and what it launched and everything that spurned from it. We've gotten some great examples of that. We've gotten some bad examples of that, but to me, it's just a brilliant example of like how you can pick up little bits of culture and intertwine it into a truly special seminal moment. So that's what I'll always think about when I think about Blair Witch.
Hell yeah, well put. What about you, Link?
I would say within this thing, the lore of the movie. Don't be careful what you wish for. Don't bite off more than you can chew, because they went out. They wanted to find the legend. They found that fucking legend, but at what cost? So
some along those lines. Fool kids don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, man.
Yep. They didn't. They found out.
Hell yeah. So Steph basically being like, fuck around and find out. I love it, man. I love it. What about you, Brooks, man? Is this movie saying anything to you?
Oh, yeah, like every movie's saying something. But this movie is like, I think it's trying to touch a lot on like, the power of like myths and fables. And like this movie in part, like it reminds me a lot of Hansel and Gretel in a lot of ways. The idea of, people getting lost in the woods, and there's like a danger in the woods, like maybe a little bit of Little Red Riding Hood. But it's like the idea, like even though like we got these modern times, we got all this modern technology, like at least at this time, like late '90s technology isn't what it is today. But it was still like they went in the woods, they're like, oh, this is the United States of America. People don't get lost anymore. But this idea, like like, oh, we're safe. But that's part of the myth is like it doesn't matter like what time it is, like you can still get lost in the woods, like there could still be dangers, there's always like these kind of hidden dangers that if you go too deep into the shadows, you're always in danger of like never coming out. And I think that's what it is, like it's kind of what this movie is the kind of the scary part of this movie is this idea of at any time, like if you go too deep, and you don't know what you're doing, like you could end up, in some fucked up shit. So, leave a breadcrumb trail from your vehicle so that you don't end up like these guys.
Well, breadcrumbs are the bad idea because birds will eat that shit up. It's a
true,
big piece of string, y'all. Like
string like Theseus.
No, I'm right there with you and Link, man. Like it's about fuck around and find out, and it's about the hubris of the American film student in particular, but just the hubris of Americans. I feel like it's the same theme that I pick up from Eli Roth's Hostel, right? And Eli Roth talks about how important Blair Witch was for him as a filmmaker, right? But exactly what Brooks said, how Heather Donahue actually says in the movie, this is the 90s, it's America, nobody gets lost here. No, it's true. People still get lost and die out in the Sierra Nevada, wherever the fuck they are, right? We wouldn't go to the goddamn rainforest.
Hell
and
no.
trek out into the goddamn woods. We wouldn't go out to the Black Forest in Germany and trek out into the fucking woods. You know what I'm saying? But here, we think we can go to the woods because we're so close to civilization, right? And this is even in 1999, where we didn't have cell phones the way we have them today. We didn't have this level of internet connection. Even today, people get lost. And it is a mistaken idea that we as Americans are safe from the wilderness, from nature, from other countries, from other people. This is a thing that we have. We all kind of feel like we're untouchable in some aspect, in some way in our life. And I think Blair Witch Project is basically saying, yeah, you're not. Right? You can still get lost out in the woods. You can still get got. There's still things out there that you don't know about. Right? And Heather really just brings this to a head for me because she is this pretentious film student, right? Who's doing her best Barbara Walters, Diane Sawyer kind of bullshit fucking thing. But when it all comes down to it, when you run out of cigarettes and power bars, you're fucked. You're fucked. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever. So that's what I think. I think it's about hubris. I think it's about the hubris of Americans in particular, man.
She was honest with it, at least, though, because even when what's his face, Josh was picking on her.
Not till the end.
She was like, you know, but it took it. They were cracking, yeah. But she was like, "This is all I have, man. Like, this is why I'm still filming. Like this, if I fucking stop filming, I'm gonna fucking lose my shit. You know, like I have to have this in order to stay sane."
Another great scene is when Josh has the camera and says, "I understand why you like this thing so much. Your distance from reality."
Yeah.
Right. And that's something
like
that I think is more true today than it was even back then. Mm-hmm. We feel like we are distanced from reality because of our fucking cell phones, because of the internet, these webcams and all this shit. You know what I'm saying? But you say the wrong thing about somebody, you just might get got. You know what I'm saying? You're in the wrong area. You're in the wrong spot. The Blair Witch might just show up and fucking get your ass for knocking down a rock with your foot. I don't know. But like, there is something where we feel like we are safe and we're not.
There's like a, you know, there's so much heinous shit that's shown on the internet, like Twitter, X in particular, like, but there's like a disassociation when you're watching it through the safety of your own screen, you know, like this is real life shit. And it, you know, people are watching it casually, but there's like I said, a disconnect because it's like, oh, I'm watching this from afar through my cell phone. This isn't in my, you know, but it's in reality, it's still crazy that people are watching this stuff, you know, like, but there's like the disconnect because of the screen, you know, that is interesting.
Yeah. The protection, the false protection of a screen.
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely, man. I wish so many people that talk so much shit on the internet would just get their fucking throat fucking chopped one good time. You know what I'm saying? Like when we grew up back in the 80s and the 90s, we got our asses beat when we spoke out of turn. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe that's maybe because if you don't get your ass beat enough, I guess the Blair Witch is the only thing you have. I don't fucking know. But yeah, the hubris of Americans, the false protection of a screen. I think that's, I like that. All right. Time to rate this film. Out of 5 possible you digs, you out there in the chat, what do you rate the Blair Witch Project from 1999? Jelani, kick us off.
This is a tough one for me because like this started a lot of stuff, like hype, viral moments. Kind of started from here, to be honest, and what you think is real and what you think is fiction. It blurs that line so well that I really enjoy it. But at the same time, it's still kind of sort of it's okay on the it's okay on the rewatch. It's not what it was the first time. That like the hype is gone. So for me, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna give this a 3.5. The hype for it is a 5, but that's the thing. The hype is worn off. It's not I'll watch it again. It's pretty decent. But it's not what it used to be. It's not what it was. And I've seen it. And I've seen Paranormal Activity. And I've seen Cloverfield. And I've seen most of the found footage things that have come out. Wreck, Chronicle, everything that you've seen. And this for me started it all. But at the same time, I think, I don't know, now that I've seen it, it's gone to me. So 3.5 is decent for me. I'll watch it again.
I think 3.5 is incredibly strong, especially for this film.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. Jelani likes it slightly less than Humanoids from the Deep. She gave a perfect score. But it's Horrorfest, man. Nobody's judging. What about you, Stu? What's this movie sitting at for you out of 5?
Man, I can't not give it a 5. It's just one of those movies like this and Scream for me growing up were it. Like just movies that shook the shit out of me and still affect me to this day. I love how what Jelani said, it bothered me. It bothered me for so long afterward. That's a great way to put it. So yeah, definite 5. Obviously the historical perspective we've talked about it on and on. But yeah, I just love the rewatch. I love the pacing and some of those moments I'm still here for. So yeah, man, just a flawless film. I think for me personally, I know, warts and all, it definitely has things story wise and otherwise that I think it could do better. But to me, I love it for what it is, and the intense artistic guerrilla effort that it was. So 5 out of 5.
Hell yeah. A perfect 5 from Stu. What about you, Link? What you sitting on?
I was leaning in the Jelani camp. Like I was leaning at 3.69, to be honest. But because of this conversation, I think we've had a great conversation about this film. I feel. I think it's a compelling film in that aspect. Even if you don't dig it, I think that there's some interesting enough aspects of it for you to want to like at least talk about it, or find that interesting. You might not dig it, but you're like, there was something cool about it, but there's still something there with this film. So I'll bump it up a little extra from a 3.69 to a solid 4. This film's iconic. I know there's bias playing into it, but I can't take that away. Like every other found footage film I've seen, it might be a little bit more entertaining or well done, but like we've stated earlier, noted very well, very clearly, they don't possess the authenticity this film has. You always know it's a film. You always know it's a movie, or there's just something about this.
Acting, right?
Yes, yeah. There's something about Blair Witch that it can't quite shake in a good way, that it feels real. Like I'm always like, man, are you sure those aren't like real townsfolk? They just had like a local legend, and they just asked them to explain it on camera and shit like that. So it's a solid 4 for me.
And I was prepared to come here tonight and tell everybody that the correct way to watch this movie is on VHS. But honestly, I watched it on VHS and I watched it on Blu-ray. The Blu-ray looks great. Like even with the high definition, the 8mm film, like it works. Like it still looks good. I still like it. If there is a correct way to watch this movie, it's to watch Curse of the Blair Witch and then watch the movie and try to put yourself back in 1999. Speaking of back in 1999, Brooks was there. He missed out on this movie, but he's got thoughts. What are you rating the film, man?
Well, I don't think this is a bad movie. It's just not really my cup of tea. Like I do appreciate it for what it did. Like it was an interesting kind of like they kind of blazed a little bit of a trail in filmmaking, and I also appreciate that they didn't rely on like cheap jump scares and stuff like that. I appreciate that also that they didn't actually put the witch in the movie. Like I like that they kind of kept her off screen, like they didn't try to imply that the witch was actually there.
So by the way, Brooks, real quick, sorry to interrupt, but one time they actually intended you to see the Blair Witch at one point. And it's the moment where they're running out of the tent and Heather goes, "What the fuck is that?" One of the fucking directors is wearing all white with a white pantyhose over his head running through the woods, and they were supposed to catch him on film, and they're like, "Thank God we didn't. That would have been so fucking bad."
Yeah. Right, yeah. It could have worked, but I think it's better that they didn't they didn't try to do.
No, her screams are so good there. Yeah, just not knowing is so good.
Yeah,
it could have been Josh. It could have been anything. It could have been,
it could have all been in their head.
Yeah, because that was the children's scene. So you heard all those fucking creepy, you didn't know what the fuck that was.
Yeah, what was happening?
Because, honestly, the big point of the movie isn't even necessarily the mythology. It really is just these three dudes lost in the fucking woods, losing it.
Yeah.
Right? It's truly a psychological horror movie as far as that goes. It's a breaking down of these three people.
Yeah, it's more about going stir crazy than than anything else.
Eli Roth says it was a major influence on Cabin Fever, probably because of that reason.
Pancakes? Pancakes?
Now everybody knows not to talk to Dennis.
Nobody talked to Dennis. Nobody talked to Dennis.
We got to cover that movie.
We got to do it.
Have we? No, we did it on Dylan's show, right? We didn't do it here. We haven't done Cabin Fever yet, have we? We got to do Cabin Fever.
Not even the remake.
The Karate Kid, bro, with the mullet, iconic.
Yes, the sign says, "Don't talk to Dennis." God damn it,
Dennis. Do not.
Yo, before we get out of here, though, can we talk about the last scene? First of all, I heard the director say that they made him camp outside of that house. They had no fucking idea the house was there. They woke him up in the middle of the night. They had put radios and speakers broadcasting that motherfucker's voice and screams. So they literally stumble upon the house. And then to me, dude, the way it's done with the different camera views of the 8mm, and then the sound, when the sound goes out from her camera and all you hear is his camera from downstairs as she's slowly screaming. I just thought,
man. Did you know they had to
him in the
refilm
corner
that scene? Do you know they had to refilm the ending?
Nah.
Because Mike says he gets this note that says, "You're going to hear some noises, run, go up, and then lose Heather, go all the way down." And he was like, "I need to know what you're talking about." They're like, "You don't need to know, you'll know." So he gets there and it's the house. And he said that his reaction of, "Holy shit, it's a fucking house," is legitimate, right? Because they didn't know that was there, right? So he goes there, he does his thing, he comes downstairs. One of the directors tackles him down to get the camera down. When they tackle him down, the button got hit, video stops recording, and the light went out on Heather's 16mm camera. So they had to reshoot it.
Oh,
so that's actually the second take that they did the next day.
Wow.
But it still feels authentic, doesn't it?
Incredible. Yeah. That scene of him in the corner was forever. Yeah.
And also, when Artisan, nowadays Lionsgate, when Artisan picked up the movie, they made them film 3 additional scenes for the ending. One of them, Mike is crucified on one of those stick men. The other one, Mike is floating in the air, and the other one, he's turned around, and they went with the original ending, which I think is the best.
I watched all the alternates on YouTube. I think the OG is the best for sure.
I thought you were saying they floated around certain theaters or certain, sometimes certain theaters will have different endings, slightly different endings or something like that.
That was a rumor.
It was a rumor,
Okay.
but it wasn't
was a
true.
rumor.
But
Yeah.
I do think that
Okay.
if, like, when the camera goes down from Heather, if you saw those floating witches and things, it would work better. But at the same time, you would lose some of the realness of it, right?
Yep.
Anyway, Brooks,
Yep.
you were about to get to your rating, weren't you?
Yeah, I give this one a 2.5. Like, that's just my opinion, though. I like I say, I can appreciate what it is, but it just didn't work for me.
I mean, I appreciate you saying that, but a 2.5, brother? Really? All right.
Okay, I'll give it a
fine.
3 with the Horrorfest bump.
Oh, no, don't change your shit.
Hey,
It's a
I'll take it,
2.5.
no.
Don't change your shit, man. It's a 2.5.
Horrorfest bump.
There should be a Horrorfest bump, but Brooks doesn't always give us the Horrorfest bump. But Brooks, I mean, do you want to give it a 3? You want to give it a 2.5, man? It's up to you.
I'll stick to my guns and give it 2.5.
All right, 2.5. For me, with the Horrorfest bump, it's hard for me to rate this movie without talking about the time that it was released, my personal experience with it, how much this movie meant to me, and how impactful this movie was to the horror genre, right, going forward. However, even though I would give the marketing of this movie a 5 you digs, I can't give this movie a 5 you digs, right? It's not something I can rewatch at the drop of a hat, but it is something that I do want to continuously rewatch throughout my life, every so often. So I will give it 4. I'm going to agree with Steph there and give it a 4. So we got a 3.5 from Jelani, a 4 from me and Stu, or a 4 from me and Link, a 5 from Stu, and a 2.5 from Brooks for a PCP average of, carry the 1, 3.768.
It's solid.
Because there's no sex in this movie.
There's no sex.
Like, if we would have gotten some found footage sex, maybe it would have been a little bit better. Hey, you know what I'm saying? No, but I think the movie is strong for what it is, but I don't think it's perfect. I agree with what everybody pretty much said here. Two Gun's going to give it a 3.5. Evan gave it a 4 out of 5. And I think that's where it really, really should reside. But, to each their own. Brooks, 2.5, that's fine. I'm not going to hold that against you. Because y'all like Humanoids from the Deep better than I thought you would. Honestly, I thought we were about to have another Funhouse situation on Friday night, and we didn't. So that was cool. That was cool. So, yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair for everybody here. Metal Elf gives it a 4 as well. Bros. All right, thus concludes our movie review of the Blair Witch Project. We continue Horrorfest next week with Return of the Living Dead 3. Ooh. I cannot wait to chat about this movie. It's one of my favorites. I loved it when I was a pre-adolescent. And if you've never seen this movie and you watch it, you'll know why I loved it so much at 12 years old. So I loved it. But Horrorfest week 4 is just getting started. Join Dylan over at Dylan's Horror Show tomorrow night, I believe, to talk about The Loved Ones, which is another Two Gun Pedro pick. And then on Thursday night, over at Blood Splatter Chatter, I'll be joining the gang to talk about this little Korean movie that came out called The Wailing. That's truly freaky. I'm really, really excited for that. And we also have a Horrorfest special presentation Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Time, right before Blame Fable makes its triumphant return. Me and Verno are going to be talking about our top 10 slasher movies. And honestly, it's one of the hardest, most difficult top 10s I have personally ever had to come up with. So I'm very, very excited for that. So Return of the Living Dead next week. The Loved Ones tomorrow night. The Wailing on Thursday. And on Friday, top 10 slasher films. So we're just getting started with Horrorfest, y'all. I mean, it's barely September. We got a long way to go. What about you, Jelani? What you got coming up? Thank you for being here. Final thoughts.
Yeah. Return of the Living Dead. Why are we not doing 2? We're just skipping 2 because 2 is basically 1.
2 sucks.
Yeah, 2 does suck.
These go to 3.
Yeah. 3 is awesome. I'm glad we're doing it. It's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm so excited. Return of the Living Dead 3. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Of course, Brooks and I do this lovely show called Go Figure Reviews. We like to review toys and talk about them and do house tours and other stuff. We haven't done a house tour recently, but so if you guys know anybody that has a house full of toys, I want to like film that and put it on our channel. But right now we're doing reviews, and right now we did the Wave 1 review of Masters Universe X Thundercats. So all of them. There was Chitara, Lion-O, Battle Cat Man, and Scale Rod was a previous video, but we're sticking them in there too. Full Wave 1 review. Check these out. They're Emerge, and they're beautiful, I think, personally. So, check us out. Go Figure Reviews.
We got Wave 2 at the shop right now, guys. So get ready. They're going to be having Wave 2 coming up very shortly. What about you, Stu? Thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure. It was great talking about this movie with you. And real quick, did you watch Curse of the Blair Witch back in the day?
I gotta watch that. No, I gotta watch that.
It's really good.
It's on YouTube. Brooks, I would encourage you to watch it too. It's on YouTube, and you can find it and watch it.
It's a lot of context before you watch this movie.
Oh yeah, definitely gonna check that out. Yeah, you can find me Dr. Doom's
DVD.
Is it like was it extra on Blu-rays or something?
Yeah,
It's on the Blu-ray, and it should. I think it's on the DVD too. Is that what you watched it on, Brooks?
Yeah, I rented it from David's.
Well, you should watch it. Did you take it back yet?
No.
Look on the special features, see if it's there. I think you actually will get more of a kick out of that documentary than you did the movie.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
Anyway, Stu, talk to us about Dr. Dude's Fan Club and what you got coming up.
Fan Club on IG and YouTube. That's where you can find me. Ink and Insights every Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern on the Dr. Dude's Fan Club channel. Me and E talking our favorite comics of the week. And then I just dropped a little review of Resurrection Man Quantum Karma number 6. So check that out on my channel. But thanks for having me, fellas. Always a blast, and yeah, so happy to be here for this.
And you're going to be there Thursday, right?
I will be there.
You picked this movie, man.
I did, dude. I did.
Fuck you for those nightmares last night, man.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
I kept dreaming of fucking Lorraine Warren, witches in the woods, and fucking Korean dudes with glowing red eyes, man. That's what I kept.
That's a wild ass flick. I can't wait to have that conversation. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be good, man. The only 2 hour and 40-minute horror movie not directed by Ari Aster I'm excited to talk about. What about you, Link? Final thoughts? I know you got some stuff coming up, right?
Yes, I will also be over at Blood Splatter Chatter this Thursday for The Wailing. And I'll be this Horrorfest. You'll see me littered a little bit everywhere. The next one I believe is on here. Is Sleepaway Camp.
Slumber Party Massacre 1, 2, and 3.
There we go.
Swear to God, there better be not somewhere I have to pay. Swear to God.
There's plenty of boobies for you in that franchise, though, Jelani.
That's fine. That's fine, but I want to pay like $8 each for them. That's a lot of work.
I totally feel that. That is some work for some titties. But
for some titties.
Yeah, I will. Horrorfest in full effect.
Hell yeah. Full effect. Speaking of full effect, Brooks, final thoughts. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't like it as much as you guys, but, I spend so much time, like, wandering around the woods. Like, it just doesn't affect me the same way, I guess.
I feel
after this, I'll probably go out in the woods and just, like, sit under a tree and hope I don't get lost.
Brooks is the only person I know in real life who looks at a tree and goes, I want to climb that, takes off his fucking shoes and climbs the goddamn tree. I'm like, what? Like, what? I'm surprised Brooks doesn't drink a lot of moonshine, man. You're such a fucking hillbilly sometimes, man.
Yep.
I am what I am.
I am what I am is what you should say.
I am what I am.
Hell yeah. Horrorfest rolls on through. Check out Dylan's horror show this week for the loved ones, The Wailing over at Blood Splatter Chatter, as well as the top 10 slasher movies from me and Verno on Blood Splatter Chatter, right before Blame Fable returns on Friday night. And then next week, be here for the return of The Living Dead 3. Why did we skip 2? If you know, you know.
It is
2 sucks, y'all. Let's be honest. All right, part 2 sucks.
It's pretty good.
I skipped it. I wanted to go right into 3. Melinda Clark is the reason why that movie is so well. Brooks maybe being authentic doesn't mean he's not bullshit artist though, man. So fuck you, Jay. Anyway, we're dipping out. We love you. And for my final thoughts, no, I'm not going to do the bit. But anyway, I'm sorry to make you watch this, Brooks. It was my hubris. No, you know what? Here's my final thought. I want the 5 of us to get a goddamn camcorder and go out into the woods for 6 days and see what the fuck happens. What do y'all think? Y'all down?
I'm down.
I'm sorry, my finger's up. I don't know. Maybe not. That would be a pass for me.
Lenny will be there until midnight. And
No, I wouldn't even be there now.
Come back in the morning with coffee and donuts.
Like, fuck this, let's go home.
He's like, wait, we out of weed? I'm gone.
I'm out.
We're out of cigarettes.
All right, y'all. Next week, Return Living Dead 3. We love you. Have a good one. And my final thought truly is, I can't think of anything clever. So
that's not a fucking deer, man.
I kicked that fucking map in the river 2 days ago. They should have fucking choked that dude out right then and there, man. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Why would you kick the fucking map? By the way, who reads maps anymore?
They can.
They didn't know where they were. Like, how do you read a map in the woods? Like, ooh, it's the woods. That's a tree. That tree matches with this tree. You out your damn mind. Unless you're following the river. I would just follow the stream until civilization.
Follow the
That's
stream.
what I would have done.
There you go.
Follow the damn
Those maps that
stream.
you used to print out from the internet.
Yeah. What the hell?
You know, you're right, Jelaine. That's a good final thought. If you're lost in the woods, find a river or a stream or a creek and just follow it one way.
Follow it.
Don't go back the other way because you get discouraged. Just keep fucking going and bring more power bars and cigarettes on your journey.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Don't forget the cigarettes.
Don't forget the cigarettes. All right, we're out. Happy Horrorfest. Pop, pop. Boo.